Saturday. We're going out to eat with another family. There's four of us, there's three of them, total of seven. So we arrive at the restaurant, and the restaurant is pretty much empty. So they put two tables together so all seven of us can sit together comfortably. It wasn't until about the time it was to get the check where things got a little dicey. And we have eaten there before with just the four of us, excluding the other family of three. And we were, of course, doing separate checks. So the four of us were doing one check, and the three of them were also doing another check. So we kept it separate. That's usually what we do. We usually just keep it separate rather than trying to put money together. And chances are we're going to have our debit cards anyway, right? So we're going to pretend that this is my debit card. So, we're eating, we're having a good time. We're shooting the shit. I'm talking to my buddy. My wife's talking to her friend, and my daughter and her best friend are chatting it up. And got to the point where we all needed boxes. And I think like four or five of us needed take home boxes. So she brings the take home boxes over. Everything's going smoothly. We're, putting our food in our containers. We're ready to go. And she brings us the checks, right? So there's two separate checks. Of course, I'm paying for the four of us, and my buddy's paying, for the three of them. And, I get my debit card out, and I give her my debit card. She kind of walks away for a minute. My buddy gives her his debit card. She walks away. She comes back like 5 minutes later, and she has we're going to pretend that this is the kiosk, okay? She has one of those little portable kiosks that you walk around with, right? And this happened to me before at this restaurant, and I didn't think anything about it until it happened to me for the second time. So she comes over to me, and she has my debit card, and she has the kiosk, and she goes like this, and then she hands it to me. She's like, "I just need your signature." So my card's in there, and I'm looking at it, and I go to sign it, and there's a spot where you have to leave a tip if you want to, right? And keep in mind, she is standing like right here, freaking staring at me. She can't see what's on my screen because I'm kind of like this with it in front of me. So she has no idea how much of a tip I'm going to leave her. So my bill came out to $94, I think, or $95, $94 and some odd cents. Let's just say $95, okay? So I'm looking on there, and you see the three boxes where it says leave a tip. There's like one percentage, another percentage, and another percentage. So this kiosk had three. And then there was a fourth button that said custom. Keep in mind, she's still staring at me, right? And I'm like this, trying to sign the damn thing, which is nearly friggin' impossible with your damn finger. I'm going like this, chicken scratch. I don't know what the fuck it says. It definitely doesn't say my name. It's just a line. I have no idea what the fuck I wrote. But anyway, so it got to the point where I'm trying to figure out what I want to leave for a tip. Keep in mind, $94, $95. Again, we're just going to say $95. So I'm looking over where the tip is, the percentages. What do I see? I see 20%. I see 25%. I see 30%. And then I see a box that, a little button that says custom tip. She's still staring at me, right? Everybody else is still talking. My buddy is kind of staring at me. Man, talk about feeling like you're under pressure. I felt like this was a Russian roulette. I am not going to lie. This happened to me before, but it was in the summertime. I was having, a couple of drinks. I'm, good mood. The weather was good. The people behind us are so friggin' loud. I just want to get the hell out of there because I had a headache, right? A bunch of bikers walked in with their girls. They're yelling, screaming, laughing, carrying on. I just wanted to get out of there. I wanted to get my stuff in the boxes, and I wanted to jet. I was just ready for dinner to be over. We were there for like 2 hours. They were still there behind us eating, chatting it up. The guys were like just carrying on, probably hammered. And I'm like, it's time to leave. So I'm sitting there signing this, and I'm trying to figure out what to leave, right? And I was being forced, at least I felt like I was being forced to leave a good tip. So I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm trying to find 10%, trying to find 15%, but nowhere was there an option for 10% or 15%. Again, it was 20, 25, and oh my God, your service better have been great for 30. So, of course, I usually a little bit over tip, but I try not to get too crazy. But instead of hitting the custom button, I picked the lowest amount, which was 20%. So I left her a $19 and some odd cents tip on a bill that was like $95. We'll just round up saying she got like a $20 tip. I'm like, the service was okay, but it wasn't all that great. They come, first of all, somebody else brought our food. A totally different waiter brought us our food. So we got our food, and then like 5, 10 minutes later, she came over and goes, "Everything come out okay?" We're like, "Yep, everything's fine." Before that, she brought back some refills before the food even got there. I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't need a refill. Nobody else in my daughter, I think, got a free refill, whatever she was drinking. She only came, I think, 3 times, which is really not that big of a deal, but the service wasn't all that spectacular to leave a $19 tip. But damn, talk about feeling pressured to leave somewhat a good tip. Now, I probably would have left like $10, not $19. So I think I may have over tipped at least what I thought from the service, $9 more than what I should have actually left. So my buddy goes through the same thing. She comes over to him, she gives me my debit card. She's like, "Thank you very much." I don't even know if she knows how much I left her until probably after we left. Go over to my buddy. He's like this, and he's like looking like what the fuck should I do? He got to the point where after he signed, he was trying to figure out how much of a tip, and he's like, it's like, Jesus Christ, like, come on, like, and he's sitting there, going like, I could see his finger moving around, looked like he was playing Tetris or something. He was like, I guess he was trying to figure out how much he wanted to leave, and he was probably looking for the 10% percentage button as well, and then he left or whatever, and he's like, man, usually my bill is a lot more, expensive. He said, but I didn't have any drinks or, whatever. So I'm just like, oh, his was like, I think he said $78, something like that. And I said, yeah, I feel like I was forced to leave a good tip. And I was like, what did you leave? I left, I was like, I left 20%. And he's like, yeah, me too. And I'm like, I just felt like I was under pressure to leave a good tip. And he's like, yeah, he really didn't say much about it. But I was just like, holy shit, talk about feeling pressured to leave a somewhat good tip for like subpar service. I'm just like, the tipping crisis in America is just nuts, and even when you go out to like Five Below or Walmart or anywhere, even a restaurant, you're going through the whole process like, would you like to round up to $19 and donate to blah blah? I'm like, holy crap, like my bill was already, more, already paid an arm and a leg for everything. Like, holy shit, I'm just like, oh my God, like, it's just getting ridiculous. And I'm not saying donations is considered tip. Obviously, it's not. But it's like when you go to the grocery store and you're spending $60 and they're asking you to donate $1 for like Toys for Tots or, to the veterans, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, holy crap, I just spent like 60 some dollars. You want me to, your bill's $59. Would you like to round up to an even 60? I mean, sometimes, most cases, I shouldn't say most cases. Sometimes I will just go ahead and donate the extra dollar. If I'm at Five Below and it's around the holiday season, I'm like, sure, round up $1, whatever. Or would you like to donate 50 cents, bring it to 1950 or whatever? I'm like, sure, 1956, whatever. I'm like, okay, sure, go ahead and round up. No big deal. But it's like, with the cost of living, especially in 2025, it's like some of these places have nerve. And Five Below, for instance, you know how many Five Below reuse it bags I have for like 10 cents or $1, whatever the hell they charge for those mesh bags, because I forget to keep them in my truck. And chances are when I go in, you're leaving with a handful of shit anyway. So you're like, sure, give me another bag. I don't feel like carrying it. It's either snowing, raining, windy. You want to carry all this stuff out. You don't want to struggle with your stuff. So you just buy the extra bag, whatever. I guess that's a part of how they're making money by using these reuse it bags. But I'm like, the same thing for me, I feel like goes with tipping as well. I feel like as Americans, we might be over tipping. And again, back in the day, like a year, 2 years ago, I'd have no problem if the bill was like $80 to leave a $20 tip. And I always thought to myself, I'm like, damn, man, you're like over tipping. I mean, if the bill was $200, I feel like a $25 tip would be good enough, right? And I have a feeling a lot of these workers wouldn't feel the same way. It's like, keep in mind, gratuity is an option. You don't have to leave a tip. I mean, I think there's one time I actually didn't leave a tip because the service was so terrible that I'm just like, you know what? I'm just not leaving a tip. And I really hate doing that. I really don't like not leaving a tip. But yet again, on the other side, I feel like if the service isn't good enough where they don't come back and ask you for a refill, or something else may happen. I mean, if the food's cold, that's not the waiter's fault. That's not the waitress's fault. I mean, to me, that's the cook's fault. We had an issue with Outback Steakhouse where my daughter wanted a medium rare steak, and the steak kept coming out rare. It came out bloody the first time. We sent it back. The waitress like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's not medium rare. That's more like rare." So they fixed it. They brought it back. I ordered medium rare, and her steak was more rare than mine. Like, her steak was still mooing on the damn plate. So it took the third time for them to come out where it was slightly pink, but it wasn't bleeding pink. That it keeps sending it back. And I'm like, Outback, damn. Like, we've never had issues with Outback like that before. But you know what? I still left a tip. I think I ended up leaving a $10 tip, instead of a $20 tip. I think the bills usually when we go out with a family of four is usually between $80 to $100. And again, I left like a $10 tip, if I recall. I know I did not leave a $20 tip. So I'm just like, holy crap. And those receipts, when they come out, they figure it out, and you put your total in, you handwrite your tip in, and you handwrite your total. That's the way I like it. I hate feeling stressed where you're getting a kiosk right, and the waitress is standing right in front of you, like watching you. Like, you don't have a choice to be like, pick a button, pick a button, pick any button. And yes, I could have picked the custom button and left a 10% tip. But I'm not going to lie, I felt like I was under a lot of pressure to leave the least amount of a 20% tip. That's just how I felt, and again, I feel like my buddy may have felt the same way. I really don't know. I just, he's like, yeah, I just left 20% too. And I'm just like, damn, I felt like 1,000 people were staring at me, waiting for me to just pick a button, and that's the problem. I feel like they should have just done it at the register, but I guess they walk around because the place does get busy in the summertime, and I get it. You want to walk around with a kiosk, having a portable kiosk, a portable machine is probably a lot easier than them just running back and forth between different spots trying to figure out and doing all the receipts and stuff like that. I get it, but again, I want you to let me know in the comments if this has happened to you and how you handled it. Are you a good tipper? Are you not a good tipper? Do you tip when the service is bad? Or, has there been any times where you just haven't tipped at all because you felt like that the service was shit and you're just like, you know what? I'm just not tipping. Let me know in the comments. I want to know what your thoughts are. Again, I never thought I would have been through that situation where I felt so stressful for just leaving a damn tip. And it just made me think about it. And I went home and I thought about it and I thought about it. I was like, I just need to make a video about this and just share my experience. And by the way, my bill was like 114 some dollars. I think it was like a $19 and some odd tip that I had left. And again, the service really wasn't all that great, or I felt like the extra $9 was deserved. That's just how I think. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will catch you in the next one.